Next in line, my good friend Eric. Eric is a sweetheart. I love him. However, I don't get the sense that if he were to take power, he would take big moves. And I need people that I can trust that are willing to do that. Though he did win the power of veto, which is awesome. He shows me that he's a good competitor, but I don't know.
So the Couples Alliance has officially decided to become a Final Four alliance, and we've come up with a team name. We're the Four Horsemen, because we're going to end everyone's world. I mean, game. My alliance name, War, because Sarah has basically already declared war on me, so might as well fight back.
Angelica, do you want to flip this vote?
I want to flip this vote. Now that I know for a fucking fact, because I already assumed that Courtney is the one that leaked Robert being in the Women's Alliance, therefore getting him evicted on live night, I want her head on a goddamn platter.
Okay, so Adam used the veto on himself. Nothing quite like having to nominate 4 people in the same round.
Okay, I have something to say. If we're targeting couples, that's stupid. Cause one, we were a couple before this freaking show, so you guys gave us no choice but to align together because you guys already targeted us. 2, Sarah and Drew are a couple, they're brother and sister. Sarah and Daniel are a couple because they're friends outside of this house and nobody else knows them. Jenny and Tucker are a couple because they're both from Anderson.
Hello, production team. I want to come at you right now with a few notes. 1, yes, this is a bathtub.
Hey guys, just really quickly want to say that I was hacked earlier when I did my live confessional. That was not me, that was somebody posing as me, pretending to be me, trying to steal my swag. I know that I may have been wearing the same outfit. He also stole my clothes.
What's up, you guys? Just figured I'd let everybody in on just one little fun fact, just something I've been working through. As it relates to the throne vote, that hinky vote to save Blake, I know I had been posturing this entire time that I was convinced that Macy was not the one who threw it and that Anthony was. I didn't actually, wasn't convinced. It's just a really good way to kind of stir up a little fight between 2 people.
I gladly vote to evict Lee.
Bye, Lee. Have fun walking through the back door.
Whoa! What?
I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to start playing Big Brother. I told you we were going to try and round up the votes to save Lizzie. I think we've done it. I hate that they've used you as a pawn throughout this entire game. They don't deserve it, but we're about to show them that we're not here to be messed with. I vote to evict Tasha.
This was some, like, Chicago Bulls down 1 with 8 seconds left on the clock, and you're giving the ball to Michael Jordan, seeing what happens. And that's what it felt like. And I wrote down my number, showed it up, and I took it home. HOH belongs to this guy for the 2nd time this game. Let's go.
Okay, Amir, I just need to think through this for a second. So I got off the call with Jabbar. Jabbar was talking, we were talking about like the formation of the Plague Doctors, which is really just an alliance out of convenience.
Three years, 14 seasons. Over 100 BBH players have led to this. 21 players returning for a second chance at the title. After 36 long days, 18 difficult evictions, it all comes down to this. Lee, Anthony, and Blake. Lee, now the most dominant comp performer in BBH history, came into the game with one goal in mind: rewrite a story of redemption. Anthony, returning to BBH to finish what he started while playing an adaptable social game combined with a stealthy strategic game. Can Anthony claim the title? Blake Ratcliffe played a consistent strategic game, won clutch competitions, and now is one step away from the crown. Will Blake win over the jury tonight? They say second chances don't come often, but who will seize theirs? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Big Brother Hometown Season 15 Second Chances live finale. I am fired up. I know I spent a couple hours working on that video today, but I'm still just amped up after watching it again. It was just that music, honestly, is so good. But we've got a big night ahead of us tonight, a potentially long night ahead of us, as we have 11 jurors to get through at one point or the other. But here's what you will see tonight. First, Blake and Lee are going to square off in part 3 of the final head of household competition. Whoever wins that is going to make the final eviction vote, therefore securing the final 2 of the season. Then they will give their opening statements. The jurors will come in one at a time to question the final 2. They'll give their closing statements. The jurors will vote, and then we will have a winner. Wow, this season has been long. This season has been tough, and I'm ready to celebrate it and celebrate a winner and celebrate these final 3 and this whole cast. It has been a lot of fun, lots of highs, lots of lows, lots for the players to discover when this season comes to a close. But first, let me introduce the production team members that I have here tonight. Several of them are on the Zoom with the jurors. So the ones that I do have with me tonight, BBH Season 3 winner and been with me for a long time. It's Max Steady. Max,
hey,
how are
Josh. I'm doing great. On this finale day, I'm just thinking to myself, the typical hill that I die on is daylight saving time versus standard time. And now that we've cultivated a culture of correct time zone keeping, I have found a new hill to die on. And it is this. The word wary versus the word weary. We have all been very weary after this season of BBH 15. Therefore, as production, we will be wary of casting a cast that is this cracked. Thank you very much.
And of course, you saw him every morning, just about, on Morning Tea with CLC. It is the CLC, the Carl Landon Clark.
Girl, I am coke and rumming from my emotions tonight. I'm not ready for this. I mean, I'm ready for this to be over, but also not ready for this to be over. I don't know. I'm just getting emotional thinking that one of these people is about to win after 36 hard-fought days of this game. Like, I've lived it all through, y'all. I've read every freaking mess about your dermatology appointments, every kid's fucking practice that you've gone to. I've heard everything for 36 days. So I'm there with the final 3, and I'm looking forward to whoever snatches the crown. I'm wary of how I'm going to feel later today. I don't fucking know. I didn't listen.
Wary.
You're gonna be weary.
I don't know.
This is our next project. We'll work on it.
Working on it.
Last bit of housekeeping. Someone in the comments loves Max Teddy, but of course we don't know who that is. So you can go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and you can authenticate your account so we can see your name. So you can be like Eric Taylor, who also loves Max and says, "Take it to the max, Max." Classic Eric Taylor joke there. But I don't want to hold this off any longer. We've been waiting forever. So let me send Carl and Max to the back and let me bring on Blake and Lee. It is time for 3 of the final head of household competition. You probably have a feeling of what it would be. You'll need a sheet of paper. That's one side says A and one side says B, or just a sheet that has A and B. You know the drill. You've seen us do this before. I will ask you 10 questions referring to a survey the jury took, and you'll have to guess what each juror said. Is a multiple choice quiz with an A and a B answer. Whoever gets the most right will win part 3. If there is a tie, it's a stay or fold image tie breaker. So, any questions from my 2 close personal friends?
I was just hoping we would be playing the Wary versus Weary final HOH competition.
Unfortunately, this is not an English quiz. It is simply a good old jury quiz. Are we ready?
Wait, let me mute to rip this paper, but then yes.
Okay. Thanks everyone that's watching. Big audience tonight. Of course, a lot of jurors are watching, but a lot of adoring fans as well. So thanks for watching. The number is at 26 at the moment. Let's get that up past 30 into the 40s. That's what I'm always dreaming of, a 30 to 40.
Get it to 1,000 if you don't mind.
Why are we stopping at 30 when we can clearly have 1,000?
You guys have TVs, computers, phones. Open it on all of them.
Yeah. Viewership is good. All right, here we go. Question number 1 of 10, because there's 10 jurors, because one of the 3 of you is about to be the 11th. So here we go. Question number 1. When asked his biggest regret in the game, Mitchell Hammond said, A, not begging Lee to use the power of veto on me, or B, allowing Ashton to be evicted on my head of household. You know the drill. Hold it up to yourself when you're ready, and then reveal. All right, let's see him. Lee says A, Blake says B. The correct answer is A, not begging Lee to use the power of veto. Mitchell, I hope you're watching this, because when you actually wrote this, you wrote not begging Lee to use the idol on me. So someone's still stuck in Survivor Land, but that's okay. Question number 2. When Danny was asked the best part of playing BBH, she said A, reuniting with AJ, or B, mending her relationship with Angelica. All right, let's see. Lee says B. Blake says A. The correct answer is B, mending her relationship with Angelica. 2-0 after 2. Question number 3. When Ashton was asked the hardest part of the game, she said A, the lying, B, managing so many relationships. All right, let's see him. You both say A, you're both correct.
The amount of times I heard that from Ashton.
When Dan was asked the hardest part of playing BBH, he said A, managing my threat level, B, dealing with all the leaks. All right, let's see him. You both say B, you're both correct again. Scores 4-2. Next question. When Angelica was asked her favorite moment of the game, she said A, the failed backdoor of Dan, or B, Jess's final words. When Angelica was asked her favorite moment, she said the failed backdoor of Dan, or B, Jess's final words. Let's see him. You both say B, both correct. Scores 5-3. When Tommy was asked who was robbed other than himself, he said A, Tay, B, AJ. I just realized I've been doing these by memory. So I got to make sure I'm giving you the right answers. I'm pretty sure I have up to this point. All right, let's see them. You both say A, Tay, and you're both correct. Let me make sure I have given you all the right answers up to this point. Yeah, definitely.
You have.
All right. Yeah, I have. All right, here we go. When Anna was asked who her number 1 ally was, she said A, Tommy, B, Tay. All right, let's see him. The correct answer is A, Tommy. Score 7-4 with 3 questions left. That means, Blake, you got to sweep them. With Lee getting them all wrong, of course. When AJ was asked his favorite competition, he said A, Invisible Maze, or B, $1 Million Money Drop.
Call me Bukkake Baby, because it's time for a comeback.
All right, let's see him. You both said B, which is correct, and the score is 8-5 with only 2 questions left. That means congratulations, Lee. You are the final head of household, and you are going to the final 2.
Regret saying that, by the way.
All right, time to bring Anthony on stream. I'm gonna flip this coin, and it landed on the B side. So that means Blake, you are going first in your pitch to Lee. It was the Ashton coin, so Ashton was the A side. The other side was blank, so that was B. So Blake, you will go first with your final pitch to Lee, then Anthony, and then Lee will make his decision.
Dr. David Lee Farrell, everything that needs to be said has probably already been said up to this point, and I can't imagine that anything that I say here is going to sway you in either direction. Respectfully and honestly, I'm okay with whatever decision you make. I would love to come full circle with our journey from BBH 11 to now and sit in the final 2 with you. As you were the person who sunk my game in 11, it would be only fitting for the 2 of us to have not sunk our games by being in final 2 together. But all respect and love, whatever decision you make is okay with me. Anthony's a hell of a dude, so if he goes to final 2, I respect your choice either way.
All right, Anthony.
First of all, Blake, honor playing with you, honor being against you in this moment. Lee, so proud of you. What better way to end our story on a final 2 note? The intro video says it all. We've had so many moments in season 11 where we went back and forth after one another. And I think you said it best today. We had a cat and mouse opportunity throughout this whole season where were we working together? Were we battling each other? I think for the sake of your chances of winning, I might be your best bet because a lot of your game could be associated with Blake's. For the sake of battling it out and closing out this story strong. And I will say this, you might not see me in any org in the near future or far from it. So if you want to get a little taste of me left over in any org opportunity, this is it. But just thank you so much for this opportunity to play with you and to battle you and to just go after one another. And I would love to see that happen in the final 2 together. Thank you.
All right, Lee.
All right, so I'm just gonna say this. I think I'm gonna be disappointing one of you. As much as you say it's okay, I know that I'm taking away one of your chances here, and I think that either one of you have a great redemption arc with me because I think that our redemption arcs encompassed one another, both of you. But as much as I have fears going into this final 2, I have to give myself the best chance possible. And for that, I am going to evict you, Anthony.
No hard feelings. Appreciate it. Good luck to the both of you. I can't wait to see what y'all have for us. And please just make it a good, hard-fought showdown. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Anthony,
Love you, Anthony.
Having you back was an absolute joy. I'm going to give this away now. The fan favorite is an absolute runaway in probably the biggest blowout in fan favorite history. Definitely Anthony Ayo, no question about it. You could still vote, but it's still a runaway. So congratulations on that. 3rd place, unbelievable game. You are fantastic. And now we're going to send you over to the jury. We'll see you back here in a little bit.
Thank you.
And let you decompress for a little bit. All right. Thank you. All right, boys, you have done it. Final 2. We started with 21. We're down to 2, and it is Lee and Blake. Not what I would have predicted going into the season, but here we are. And I'm excited to see you two battle it out. I mean, who's going to predict anything with 21 people, especially with you 21
No,
people?
and still, I would like to say fuck you. But I get you, but fuck you as well.
All right. You can assume that the jury is watching because they should all be at this point. If AJ was the only one that said he'd be here at 9:15, and it is 9:15, so he's either on time or late. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure everyone else is here and watching. And Lee is the final head of household. You will decide if you would like to give your first speech here, and then or later. You know what I'm trying to say. Whatever happens here, we'll do the opposite at the end for closing speeches.
Okay. I would like to go first, and then go last, second.
Perfect. All right. So I will get off of here, and the floor will be yours.
How long do we get?
Yes, sorry, I meant to say that. This is to everyone and everything. We have a not hard and fast 10-minute rule for everything. So we do have 11 jurors and 4 opening and closing speeches. So, I'm not going to stop you at any point unless I feel like it's getting ridiculous. That goes for everyone. So take that with what you will.
Okay. All right. So I want to thank Blake for sitting next to me. I want to thank the jurors. I don't think that anyone would have seen me here, including myself. And coming into this game, I kept saying I wanted to get one round further and one round further. And I came into this with this idea that I was going to contribute more money for every round that I lasted, because I was like, there's no way I'm winning this game. There's no way I'm getting to the end of this game. But I want to make sure that if I'm taking this time away from my family, away from my mom, that I'm playing for something greater. And that charity, which is Alzheimer's Research Foundation, was something that meant a lot to me. So every round, and I want you to think about this, but every round that I was progressing through, I saw it as something more that I could benefit to help someone not have to deal with the pain that my family's had to deal with going through having a loved one with Alzheimer's, having a mom with Alzheimer's. Game, now just getting back into the game, I think that some of the criticisms coming in tonight is that my game was chaotic as fuck. And I think that you're gonna wonder what was intentional, what was just you being a complete train wreck. And I'm hoping to be able to clear that up with you all tonight. I think that you're probably going to have questions about my targets, because I'm looking back on my rounds. And when I was HOH, it was never, whenever I said that I had a preferred target, they just about never went home. I had to nominate more people than any other player in this game. I had to show my cards time and time again. I know that many players, whether they did or not, we'll talk afterwards, but a lot of people threw comps so they wouldn't have to show their cards. And I played a game that was out front to be able to show the people I was with, I wanted to continue with them. And that sometimes I won power even when I didn't need it, but I was just winning power to show myself that I could. Getting into the lies, getting into more of the mess of it all. I think in the beginning, especially in the pre-jury, after I won a few competitions, I pulled back into the background because I knew that I could hide for a little bit. But a player like me does not do well in a game with easy votes and hidden targets. I tried it in the beginning and it worked for a little bit, but it wasn't going to work for long. A player like me will be successful with flowing information and misconstrued facts. And that's exactly how I was able to manage getting through round to round to round. I didn't have to win every single competition in order to progress myself. I banked on key relationships. And I think that you'll see some of those relationships, especially in the jury phase. I was very open for picking and taking out of this game, especially at round the top 11 round and the top 8 round. Mitchell Hammond was the HOH in both occasions, but I had cultivated such a good and trusting relationship with Mitchell that even when pleaded with to backdoor me, he refused. And I think that that was just a part of my social game. Obviously, I did not delicately handle my social game with many players, but I focused on a core group of people that I wanted to work with. I played this game in segments. Yes, I played this game with Dan and Angelic at the beginning. And yes, I was a part of the cultivation of the Ants Go Marching, the 6-person group. But when we developed that, that was a to get to jury group. And for the most part, we did. I also started a group on round 3, with Blake and Danny called the Hamburglar Fan Club. I don't get the credit for naming it though. And that was a very beneficial key to my game, in that I had Blake, who was oftentimes calming me down and encouraging me, and Danny, who was always bringing me information. I think that every player in this game was crucial to my game, at least for a short amount of time or a long amount of time. And whenever I saw that a player was no longer beneficial to my game or was actually a threat to my game, whenever I saw that a player stopped trusting me, or whenever I saw that a player was cutting their communication with me, that was when I knew that they had to go. I wasn't always effective in getting them out when I wanted, but I was purposeful in getting information out to get those players out. I'm really excited to talk more about my game, about my journey, but I don't want this to be a game where you think that I think my comp wins speak for themselves. There's a lot of luck that comes in with this. I'm a student of this game. I knew the comps to prepare for. Maybe I wasn't right that a comp was coming right at that moment, but I was even running around the house saying, hey, I think this comp is coming. I think this comp is coming. And I prepared and helped other people prepare. I shared my notes, and I believe those notes got shared with other people as well once I shared them with a couple of people. Looks at Blake. But I did not just depend on my comp wins. I won the comps because I wanted to. I couldn't help myself, and you could see that. I would even have people like Blake in my DMs especially saying, like, slow down, brother, you need to stop. And I just couldn't do it. And even so, those comp wins sometimes helped me get power, but really it wasn't about the targets. My game was about putting those targets out there, not necessarily saying, hey, I prefer this person to go, but throwing up people that maybe people wouldn't have targeted in the first place. So even in the round, thinking about like Tommy and Anna going up. Yes, I preferred for Anna to go, but it was more important that I broke the two of them up. So think about that as you are going through and analyzing my game and Blake's game. And yes, I know I'm chaotic. I know I'm all over the place. And I know that it's going to be hard to distinguish what was intentional versus what was just an in-the-moment chaos. Yes, I made a lot of promises. And yes, I broke promises. I was in the moment. I was in my emotions. My heart was out there. And I played with a lot of friends. Like, I played with them, I played against them, but I came in with the most connections, which also meant that I had to burn the most connections. I voted friends out, I nominated them, and I wasn't afraid to do that. I wasn't afraid to blow up the game when I was sitting pretty in a 6-person alliance because I no longer enjoyed that status quo. I think that's it. I'm really bad at speeches. I'm not good at writing them. This is a wing it kind of thing, but I would really love for you to hear about Blake's game next before we get into questioning.
Go for it, Blake.
Thank you so much, Joshua, my baby Consalvo. If I quiver throughout this speech, friends, it's because it's the most nervous I've been in 24 years on this earth. So just bear with me because I got a lot to say to you beautiful, sexy people. First things first, as cringy and played out as this is to say at the top of a speech, I feel like I owe a million thank yous to the BBH prod team, but most notably Josh. The BBH community has given me more friends than I could have ever asked for. When I signed up to play this game a year ago, it was just to fuck around and goof, and I've made lifelong friendships with people that I've met in real life. Getting to come back and play and actually show that I'm good at this game was a dream. And regardless of the outcome, this game holds a very special place in my cold, cold heart. But that's not what you came here to hear about. Let's talk about the game. So all returnee orgs have never been my thing. I came into this season hoping to feel confident, but as soon as I was thrust into Bunker 1, a bunker primarily occupied by people I'd never met or even spoken to, I realized I had a difficult road ahead of me. I used these early days in Bunker 1 to flesh some connections out to help carry myself through the bunker portion and maybe through some of the early stages of this game. Connections that would become incredibly valuable to me throughout this game, most notably Anna, Ashton. Those were two people that were super important to my game at different points. I built a connection with Anna really quick. This was strong enough to keep me safe throughout Bunker 1 as we were the bunker to have to evict somebody. Anna had to nominate half the people in that bunker. But I put in that quick social legwork and I was able to kind of secure my spot there with her, carrying myself into the main house. So as we moved into the main house, I did a little scope. I saw a lot of familiar faces. Similarly to what Lee said, I was playing this game with a lot of friends. When you have played in this community for as long as I have, you unfortunately make a lot of friends, acquaintances, and enemies along the way. And I felt like I was going to be incredibly well positioned. I knew that winning competitions in the early stages of this game maybe wasn't a necessity for me. So any student of the game or BBH historian knows that the Plague HOH is what comes first. The mentality I took with the Plague HOH was to never reach out to anyone. I wanted to use this as an exercise of trust to see where everyone stood, to see how far I could make it in the game, to know if I was as positioned as I thought I was. Lo and behold, I ended up pulling out the first HOH win. I did a lot of people favors in that round. I think I was able to help a lot of my friends, make some new friends, all that fun stuff. I didn't rock the boat. I put up Jason and Ian in that first round. The first round HOH is usually one that people stray away from winning, but I kind of took it with pride. I used it to build those connections. Despite having a worse connection with Ian, I knew that Jason would be more likely to be vindictive, so I subtly pushed the Jason boot agenda. The vote was 13-4, but despite that, I knew where all 17 of the votes went, so I considered that first HOH a huge success. A majority of the pre-jury for this game for me wasn't really thrilling. A lot of you probably heard me say I took on the motto, keep it simple, stupid. I elected to never rock the boat unless it was absolutely necessary for me to rock the boat. I used this time to continue to build those connections. I had trios like Lee mentioned with Lee and Danny. I had one with Lee and Jess at one point. That didn't hold much water, but that was a trio that existed for a little bit. And most notably, I would say probably the trio that carried me the most through the pre-jury of this game was with Tay and Anna, who would both be key pieces of my game moving forward. I didn't see the block whatsoever before the pre-jury phase or before the jury phase, pre or post veto. This was due to my social positioning. Even when Ian, who was one of the only, even when Ian won HOH, I was one of the only two people to have previously nominated him. My connection with Ashton was strong enough to where she was able to put in that legwork to keep me safe. Most importantly, in the pre-jury portion of the game, I voted for the eliminated player each round, with the exception of a hinky vote to evict Tay next to Ian. Sorry, Tay, I love you, but the kid cried and I felt very sad. My strong social connections allowed me to remain in the loop on every single round and make the most informed decision for my personal game time after time. Let me raise my chair because my fat ass is sinking it. So a big turning point in this game for me was the Jess eviction. Anna and Tay very visibly lost trust in me after I vetoed Ashton on live night, which led to Anna leaving me out of her plan to backdoor Dan. After I was immediately clued in by both Angelica and Ashton, I worked to rally numbers to draw a line in the sand with Anna, Tay, Amanda, Carly, Tommy, and Anthony on one side, myself, Danielle, Lee, Angelica, Mitchell, Dan, AJ, and Ashton on the other, knowing that the two sides of the house were going to go to war. 3 big targets on each side, Hammond, Ange, Dan, and then Carly, Amanda, Anna. Those were people that were going to feud, and I could make it out unscathed. This war carried me smoothly into the next few rounds and into the jury. So the jury phase is when I began to go on the offensive in this game. Even though I was closely aligned with Lee for the entire pre-jury and the entire game, TBH, I recognized that defying his wishes and rallying the numbers to save Ange in the double eviction was best for my personal game. I used this to detach myself from the sinking ship that was Dr. David Lee Farrell. Love you to death, King, but you were sinking at that moment. And I used that to branch out to players like Tommy and Anthony, who I previously had a fractured relationship with. I was able to kind of coast through the next couple rounds. I knew that there wasn't really much benefit to me winning HOHs in those moments because I had positioned myself well, and the blood on my hands would only put a bigger target on my back. The biggest swing that I made after a couple rounds in the jury was when I threw the tiebreaker in the Deal or No Deal HOH competition. When I saw that myself and Anthony were in the tiebreaker, I knew that letting Anthony get the blood on his hands was better for my game and that he would take a swing to break up the power structure of Mitchell, Ange, and Dan. He had less to lose. I knew that I could benefit from that move. While Angelica's eviction was not my ideal circumstance in that instance, this forced the game to become more fluid and was the first time I saw a path to the end game. The mid-jury was a tumultuous point of this game for me. I took a big swing at Mitchell when he was nominated against Angelica, and I absolutely whiffed. My allies weren't budging. I saw Mitchell as the biggest threat in this game, and I think that that was proven later in the game as he became a bigger winner contender. I whiffed, and it left me vulnerable and in danger during his final 7 HOH. My social connections with Lee and Danny held strong enough for them to defy Mitchell's wishes and rally the votes in my favor, which gave me another day in this game. As I went on to win the HOH, I set myself up for success, ensuring I wouldn't miss this time when I took my shot and took out the biggest threat of the game. I locked down a 4-0 vote to evict Mitchell, which on paper is crazy considering Danny and Lee were 2 of his closest numbers in the game. This set me up to be one of the bigger threats moving into the end game, and every round felt like I was walking a tightrope to earn another day in the game. I had to make incredibly difficult decisions. I burned allies like Danielle, who I love to death and adore, and she was one of the biggest reasons that I had such a great time in this game. Danielle kept me calm. She was literally my rock in this game for a majority of it, but I had to make the decision that was best for my game. In addition to that, Tommy, I have such an admiration for Tommy as a human and as a player. But when it came down to it, I knew that, literally sinking, hold on. I knew that Tommy would not be good for my game in the long run. And I needed to set myself up and give myself the most optimal chance to make it to the final two. And I sit here today because of those decisions. My second chance story wasn't necessarily about righting any wrongs that I made in season 11 or being this hardcore game player. My second chance story was about personal growth and showing that I'm capable of being more than just the hee-hee-ha-ha court jester in these games. I've been through a lot of turbulence in this season, both in-game and in my personal life. It's been a fucking whirlwind, to say the least, in my life. But in spite of it all, I can truly say I played a game that I'm proud of. I formed some of the most substantial social connections I've ever had in a game. I've played these games since 2015, and some of the friendships I made or strengthened in this game are going to go farther than any game that I've ever played in my life, and for that, I'm truly grateful. I constantly thought several steps ahead and was prepared for every hurdle that I might have to face. And even though it was a big margin, I was top 4 in competition wins this season. I won 2 HOHs, 2 vetoes, and only touched the block once, where I ultimately only received a single vote to evict. I think I played the absolute fuck out of this game. I'm confident that I would be a fitting representative for this season. I look forward to squashing any doubts that you may have about my game through your questions, and honestly, I'm just excited to see all your beautiful faces. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I'm muted. All right. First juror to face you tonight. Reminder to the jurors, when you ask a question, if you are intending to ask both players the same question, just pick somebody so we save some time with who should go first dance. So, my favorite player of BBH ever is the first juror, and it is AJ. You're all my favorites. Don't read into that, everyone.
Y'all heard that? I'm his favorite. Y'all suck. Oh, that thing. I thought it would do the don't buy stuff from Dollar Tree. Hey, y'all. How's it going? Congratulations. Pause. Sorry, I got the Zoom open. Congratulations. Y'all did it. 21 people came in. Y'all 2 made it to the end. Y'all did that ish. Here's my issue. This is going to be tough for me to vote for either y'all at this point, if I'm being honest. Like Lee, the round I got voted out, I've never been more hurt or disgusted by a person than I was with the actions that you did with me that day. And it's like very hard for me to like think past that and be like, oh, okay, Lee deserves my vote to win, like after everything he did to me. So it's hard for me to vote for you, Lee. And then Blake, it's hard for me to vote for you because throughout this entire game, you would like seemingly refuse to talk to me, like straight up ignore me. And then I will be like, hey, people will ask me about you. I'm like, I don't really trust Lee. No, I don't really trust Blake. I don't really talk to him. And they're like, oh no, AJ, he's great. Da, 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 da. And I was like, oh, so he really is just ignoring me. So it's like, how can I like vote for someone who straight up ignored me in this game? So it's like hard on both ends, but this is a game. This is a game. Y'all both are amazing people. Y'all both are awesome. I know tonight it might be hard with some questions that's going to come to y'all. But at the end of the day, remember that y'all both are hot-ish. Y'all have been hot-ish. Y'all continue to be hot-ish. And if y'all like start to feel down about yourself, get out your camera, look at yourself, and be like, I am hot-ish, baby. So I'm going to give y'all an easy question because I know people are going to make it harder. But I've always said in this game, if it's not fun, why are we playing this? So I want to know, how did y'all add to the fun of the season? How did y'all like make it more light and levity in this game? And since you raised your hand, you can go first, Blake.
I'm so excited about this question, AJ, like genuinely. First things first, I want to say I totally agree. I'm sorry that it came across like I was ignoring you. That was never my intention. I had a terrible habit of turtling into my shell with so many people in this game. And at times it was easier to rely on the people that I'd already been talking to. And sometimes I struggled to build those new connections as the game went on. I always described our relationship as we would be in the Spotify artists you may like for each other, but we never actually clicked up and did a collab. So I apologize for that. In terms of adding to the fun, this is actually something that I was very passionate about in this game. The moment that I feel like I tried to add to the fun the most was during the no vacancy HOH, which was the one that I won. The game kind of just got really dramatic and goofy, and like everybody was crying and losing their minds, which understandably so. So I went into that HOH and said, I'm going to jokingly, purposefully, publicly lie to as many people as possible. I just wanted everyone to laugh. We started to get a little too serious in a game for money to charity, but $0 technically, you know. And I just wanted to have fun. That was a moment where I really tried to like get everybody laughing. We're playing a game, but we're playing a game with nerds on the internet. Like, so I was trying to bring the joy back, and I think I did that. And I also pulled out an HOH win with it. So that was the most fun that I had in this game personally.
I think some of the most fun I had in this game was Thanksgiving night. And even though it was a day off from the game, it was something that I knew coming in that if I was still here, that I wanted to do something fun with the people that didn't necessarily have places to be or people to be with. And it was a really great opportunity to get on call with the other players that joined. And we talked 0 game the entire night, but we were just getting to know one another. And a lot of people joined that call who I hadn't talked to very much previously, other than game calls. And so getting to know those things about their life and just joke around and just talk shit, it was really, really fun, because it reminded me, especially after we had just gotten out of a pretty stressful round, that we were all pretty fun people to be around. And it was something that I was really excited to do. Like, I had really planned out. I know that, you know, this was something that other people had gotten really excited about. In the game, I would say one of the things that I really wanted to do to contribute to the fun is I get a little bored when things stay the same. And I saw that there was a 6-person group. Yes, I was a part of it, that was kind of running things in the beginning. And once we got to the place where I no longer saw it as part of my game plan, I wanted to blow it up and change something different. I didn't leak it, but I definitely played against it. And so I had a role in kind of blowing that up, but that was part of where I wanted to contribute in the fun as well. Ultimately, it benefited me. It didn't always benefit everyone else, but it was just something I did because sometimes I get bored and just want to change something up. So that is how I contributed to the fun.
Thank y'all both for your answers. Y'all have a good time tonight. Y'all have fun. One of y'all's going to win, and it's going to be a great time. Y'all are both great. Bye, y'all.
Thank you very much, AJ Norris. So great having AJ for 2 straight seasons. And before I bring on this next person, I do, of course. Oh, I thought the banner was still here. I was going to put up the Stream Glitter Money banner, but I cannot because it's not here.
She's my favorite BBH. If we're playing this game now, she's my favorite.
I adore Tayslay, and she was robbed. We all know it, and here she is with her jury questions.
Hi, congrats, you two. This is like hard as hell, and you should be proud that you've made it this far. I don't know who I'm voting for yet, so I'm really excited to hear everything you have to say and hear you guys talk about your games tonight. Blake, I'll start with you. What do you feel like was a game-defining moment for you?
Yeah, I think I have 2, so I will talk about the one that I haven't talked about. For me, I felt like that was a game-defining moment for me because Mitchell was the person that in Touchy Subjects got all the positive things. Mitchell was very much, I'm going to win this game. And I know that people like to view me as, you know, the funny person, the hee ha ha, but I came into this game to show that I actually can play seriously and that I have the chops and I have what it takes to like get to the end. So I felt like my second chance story was really like the culmination of that was firing my shot at the biggest threat in this game, putting the wheels in motion, getting people to turn on someone that they had previously been close to. And I really went, holy shit, Blake, your old ass can still do it in these games. And I don't know, I love Mitchell to death and it hurt my soul to do, but it really felt like I've come a long way even in a year. And I can't it was like, oh shit, you can do what you put your mind to, which sounds so corny, but like that was the culmination of my game. I think like that was the defining moment that I'm going to look back on.
Awesome. Thank you. Lee, first question. When you nominated me and Anthony and AJ, who was your target? Or who did you want to stay? Because I think you told all of us that you wanted all of us to stay.
Yeah, so can I just be honest and say I don't have a fucking clue what I was doing that round.
Okay.
I was an emotional mess. My plan, when I originally thought through the double and who I was originally going to nominate, it was originally going to be Angelica, AJ, and probably you. When I ended up with those three, it was more of a, I'm either going to side with Angelica here or I'm going to side with Anthony. And whichever one I don't put up, I have to put the other one up. So I would like to say that I would have wanted either you or AJ to stay, but I really just kind of fell backwards into it. I mean, you saw that I didn't send my nominations in until 15 minutes past the window. I was a mess. And it was when I don't know if I can speak to this on the renom, if you want to know about the renom there or what was going through my head there. And if not, please stop me. When I put up Angelica, just very bluntly, I knew she was going to stay. I knew she would have the votes to stay. My whole point in that was to create sides because I had just blown things up and I was probably going out in 11th place after whoever left in the double. But I wanted to create a world because we had a lot of easy votes, a lot of very near unanimous votes. Since the Jess and Marcelo vote. And I wanted to create something where I forced people to take a stance and not be cagey anymore. It was the only way I was going to get out of that and maybe make it a couple rounds further is by forcing 4 people to vote to evict Angelica. So she'd be maybe more pissed at 4 people than she was at me. And immediately what happens is the sides kind of clash. The only person who benefited from sides in the game was me and maybe a couple others that were playing in the middle, but I definitely benefited from sides. Always, and I'll talk more about this later, but I always wanted to create this us versus them kind of thing. And I felt like that was how I was successful coming out of the double.
Okay, I appreciate hearing you say that because when we talked then, it felt like you didn't have a strategy and you said you're like hearing like, I was a mess and da-da-da. So I want to hear like what your actual thought process was throughout the game of why you made the choices that you made. Because it feels like things were burned from the outside looking in. It seems like it was like a lot of burnt bridges. So awesome. Well, I want to ask also just the same thing I asked Blake. What do you think was your game defining moment?
I actually think that was one of my game defining moments was the double and how I got out of it. Because one of the things that I realized was that, yes, I would have loved for you to stay in that moment. And I think that there was a world potentially where you could have, and it would totally hinge on Danny's vote. But I kind of took advantage, or at least I took for granted what I thought her vote was going to be. But I think being able to pull out of that and not immediately being a target was a game defining move for me. Coming out of that round and creating this utter chaos of, creating sides that were targeting each other, I think was a game defining moment for me. And even though this was not like, I'm not going to say that this is strategic, but like when I decided to put Angelica up, knowing she would have the votes to stay, I even said, hey, I'm putting you up, but you probably have the votes to stay here. And I meant it. I knew that taking out you and AJ, while I didn't love losing either of you, you and AJ and I, our relationships weren't really progressing as much as I had wanted them to. But I also knew no one was targeting either of you. And so taking out both of you there was not bad for my game, while not the intention at the beginning.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. I'm excited to hear more about your games.
Thanks, Tay.
Thank you very much, Tay. Next up is the one, the only Carly Wallman.
Hi there. Congratulations on making it this far. That is incredible with the longest season ever. So kudos to you. Let's get down to business here. I have 2 separate questions for you. Lee, you talked about this in your intro, right? Of, hey, I was messy. Maybe there's some intentionality behind it. Talk to me about what that intentionality was behind the mess that was part of your game.
Yeah, so I can't say it's all strategy here. Like, I will say sometimes the mess was just me feeling emotion that I didn't think I would feel. I have never really felt emotion. I have kind of been game body every time I've come into a game, whether it's short or long term. And coming into this game, I always said, if my friends fuck me over, if these people fuck me over, I'm going to say, good game, guys. but it was a lot harder for me to do that and take that opportunity away from friends I had before coming in and friends I had coming in. And so feeling that rawness in the moment made it a lot harder. And that was some of the unintentional mess. Some of the more intentional mess, I was playing, full mooning my ass to the whole house. And especially in the double round, we saw that. Creating sides was the intentionality of my mess. I didn't throw up noms to have a target, even though I would have preferences. And even though you can say, like in the co-HOH round, when I put up Jess, I convinced Amanda to put up Marcelo. I convinced her to totally take out her season. And so while I didn't prefer Marcelo to go, it didn't hurt me that he did. But there was that intentionality of creating these sides. I planted seeds before Anna won her first HOH because I wanted Dan to be targeted. I never wanted to vote him out, and you know that. But I wanted people to plant those seeds so the shot would be taken because I was so fucking tired of people playing KG in this game. And Anna took the shot. And it was people like you, it was people like Tommy, it was people like Amanda who went and talked to Anna. I barely said Dan's name. I really didn't say shit there because I had planted enough of those seeds where I could create those sides. I wanted the shots taken. The double, I created those sides. When, after the double even, when there was the time when Ashton got put up as the renom and I was running to Mitchell and saying, we can't put up Anthony here. It was creating this new division of me and Mitchell and Danny and Anthony versus the others. And so it was always about creating an us versus them, because if you had people pointing at each other, maybe they aren't pointing at me, because it's like, you can always take me out. I'm always the easy person to take out if you want, but it doesn't change the fact that the people on this other side are going to come straight for you. So that was the intentionality behind my mess. The other thing I will say is, coming out of the double round, I started perpetuating this narrative. I started perpetuating a lot of narratives and propaganda, whether it was true or not, but it was always rooted in a little bit of truth. Even from the beginning of saying, hey, Jason told me he's going to take big shots. He didn't really say that to me. Even saying Erica has no targets, she never really said that to me. But it was about perpetuating these things that made people fearful of people that they didn't want to play the game with. And so coming out of those situations was very intentional for me, whether it was seen as messy, whether it was seen as not intentional. It was about creating the mess and scurrying away so that I could somehow come out and recover. And I recovered every time. I also, but the other thing I will say is, we talked a little bit about the Plague HOH. And if you're Blake, you know that I spiraled out of my fucking head in the Plague HOH. I was like, Erica can't win this. She's going to target me. I told her I'd keep her safe. She didn't tell me the same thing. And even then, I was able to scurry and shut up. And I didn't win another comp after, round 19 until the double HOH, and was managing to completely keep my ass out of any of the attention. So I think that's where it was intentional, but there was a lot of places where it wasn't. I can't claim it all is strategic. I maybe can't even claim 50% of it is strategic. But I was feeling things and you saw things as I felt them. I overpromised things because I'd talk to new people and I'd feel those things in the moment and say, hey, this new information, I'm playing a more fluid game here. This new information has changed the way I've thought about this situation. Yeah, I shouldn't have made that promise, but this is a better thing for me to go with.
Awesome. Thank you, Blake. So Blake, I think out of everyone in the jury, I'm the most disconnected to your story in this game. Yeah, I see a head nod. So I wish I had something a lot more specific in my question, but Blake, why the heck should I vote for you? And pause, because I love a good Twistos twist. I'm going to give your time to answer as a ratio of how much time we exist in the game together and how much time we talk with each other. So with that being said, you have 23 seconds.
Okay, I think I played the fuck out of this game. Lee had the benefit of winning comps to keep himself safe. Lee will say he was the last person to be dominated. I did not have that. I was able to socially and strategically maneuver. I put myself in the middle of a divided side. I was able to, weave through the cracks and the rubble and put myself in the best spot. I cut people when I needed to cut them to secure my spot in the end game. Even when it hurt my soul, I was able to do it. I made it here. I don't have a gauge of time. I'm assuming that the time is up.
You are good. All that to say, wish you connected more in this game. Regardless, you both played amazing. You beat us all out. Congratulations on this moment. Good luck with the rest of your questions.
Thank you very much, Carly. And next up is season 14 runner-up, Angelica.
Hi. I have a page full of notes, so we're going to try to find a question throughout this. I think that Blake ran this game. I think that when I wanted a vote to go a certain way, the only person I needed to get on board was Blake. Carly, he did not want to vote you out. Blake had to make exceptions at times. And he said, when you were going, Hammond's got to go. What did he do? He took Hammond out. Lee, you said that your most incredible moment of the game was Thanksgiving when you did not have any game to talk to. You were just making relationships with people. You manipulated people. You say that your friendships didn't matter. You used what you knew about people personally and manipulated that. I see no integrity in that. I see no gameplay in that. I don't respect it literally at all. I think that it was dirty. I think that it was gross. And I don't think you deserve to win at all. Period. End of story. I guess I need to find a question in all of that. Blake, I'll go with you first. You said that the first HOH benefited you a lot, right? You didn't want it. You asked me to take it.
I didn't want it, no.
You didn't want it. You wanted me to take the HOH. You wanted Danny to plague you, me to plague Lee, Erica, him to plague Erica, and me take the HOH. How did it benefit your game by you taking that HOH and me saying, I don't fucking want it?
Yeah, for sure. So you're 100% right. In the moment when we were on that call and the play got down to the last few people, I didn't want it because I came into the house. I saw a lot of friends, familiar faces. I knew it was down to you, me, Lee, and Erica, who I struck a deal with. So I thought this doesn't benefit me to piss off 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 people if someone uses a veto. The way that it benefited me is I think I had to find the silver lining in it. Having that first HOH and being able to essentially not necessarily do a favor, but keep I can't do math. Everyone but 2 people in the house off the block. That builds some rapport. And going into that next round, going into those next few rounds, people that maybe I wasn't as closely connected with, people like a Tommy, a Davey, an Anthony, those people may have a reason to not nominate me in the next couple of rounds. It doesn't gain me favor for the rest of the game, but I felt like an Ian had less experience in this community and in these games. He was less likely to win HOH. Going into top 19, I had kept every single other person safe. So it benefited me in the sense that it gained me favor with a lot of people, and it gave me an inroad to talk to some people like an Erica, who I may have not had as much of a connection to in the first place. So I think I was able to leverage that to my benefit, and I think it showed in that I don't even want to say the whole pre-jury, but at least the next few rounds, I wasn't targeted.
I think it's incredibly impressive that Ian did win an HOH and you did not get nominated.
Yeah.
I think that is a big credit to your social game. And I think you played this game, while not with many jurors who saw how well you played it. I knew that when I wanted something to go a certain way, if I got Blake on board, it went. It never mattered how Lee was voting. It mattered how Blake was voting. And I think that's very impressive. Lee, you also said you didn't play this game with your friends. You cut your friends when you needed to, whatever you just said. You just took Blake to the end. I think you were playing with your friends. I think you made a fucking tier list. And I think that you decided who was at the top of that and who was at the bottom of that. And you changed your mind every second along the way. I think that you played this game very dirty. And I think you lied when you didn't need to. Let's go back to that first round that I just talked to Blake about. You called me and you said, I made a mistake with Ashton. I told her it's my birthday. She's going to give me the safety. I don't think the safety is good for my game. Will you talk her out of it, right? I call Ashton. She's like, Lee's been asking me for the safety all around. Why? Why did we lie about shit that did not matter? That's the messy part of it that doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
Yeah, I would just say I think that there were times where I kind of skirted on even what I was knowing to be truth or my intentions. And I think that when I talked about that with Ashton, Like it was one of those things where it was like, yeah, I would like the safety, but then after talking to, I think it was Dan, who was like, you don't like the safety kind of puts a target on your back. I think it's a curse. Like we had talked about it being a curse at the time. Yeah, I did a lot of lying. There was some unnecessary lying as well, but it was always about kind of keeping this misinformation around. And it was like, if anything seemed like it was rooted in truth, people might buy it. But it was like, it was the little things that I was lying about then. It wasn't really about like who I was with. It was just those very little things that I was lying about in the early stages of the game.
But there was no strategy behind it.
There wasn't.
There was no strategy behind it. That's the point I'm trying to make.
It was just
you
saving
didn't
my
get
own
here
ass.
on purpose. You got here by accident.
I did not get here on accident. I also think just, you say that my vote never mattered. I think when Dan was on the block against Jess, I think Dan goes if I'm on board with it.
No, Dan stays when Blake's on board with it. Blake changed that vote. When we got Blake on board, Dan stayed. Dan stayed unanimously. That's what we needed. We needed Blake.
Well,
Okay.
I disagree. But.
Doesn't matter. Okay, bye.
You're muted, my boy.
Gosh, I keep doing that because I'm afraid that like my background noise is gonna get in the stream. All right, next up it is Dan Alt, Cool Dad.
My favorite member of BBH. Hello, my Red Bus buddies. We've been doing it since day 0 on BBH 11. And who would have thought I'd be down here and you guys would be up there? Fuck me, right? I don't know where I want to go. I have like things in my head. I'll go off some like premises. Like I think generally, like Lee, I'm having a lot of difficulty here, and I'm gonna only give you this because I think it might be helpful for anyone else you speak to. I'm having trouble the way you played this game, believing anything you say today because your entire game was on a foundation of lies. So I don't even know which way is up, and sometimes I'm not sure you know which way is up, and that's just something that's being very difficult to reconcile because like people compared notes throughout this entire time. Like the idea that you said that Angelica was going to be safe on that double, meanwhile you asked Danny to throw a vote on AJ so that you could break a tie in Tay's favor. Like it just, but I can't help but say like, wow, this guy did a tremendous job of keeping himself safe. He played for number 1 the entire time, and like power is an incredible part of this game. Blake, you had less competition wins. You had less power. But I again, and I do credit to Angelica's point. If say Ashton was on the block next to me at that on that backdoor plan, I think you go with Ashton and the house goes with you. I think we definitely did not need all the votes we got because I think we had you, which was able to unlock a few other votes. And I think you were able to secure other people, namely, I think Lee, to also go with that. And that also helped go from a split house to a unanimous decision. I think you did an incredible job of positioning. I don't think people were ever truly looking at you for a long time. You did, in the Trusty Subjects, get co-tied for who's actually running this game with another great player in this game. I won't talk about them too much. So these are just like things that are going on the top of my head. I guess, yeah, I'm going to be selfish here. And I'm going to be also be pretty lazy. I want to ask you both. You guys know me. We've played multiple games together. If I was to ask you a question, any question to talk about your game so that why I would want to vote for you, what would that question be? Why would it be that question? And what would be your response? And Blake, you can go first.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for the kind words. They mean a lot, especially coming from you. It truly means a lot to have someone like, I know it's going to sound like dick sucky right now, but I do genuinely admire you in the way that you played 11. So to hear that means a lot. Having played minis with you, having played BBH 11, and having played this game, I think that's something that I've seen you do a lot of the time in these games is shake up the status quo. You in minis maybe not as much in the long games, but in minis, I've seen you be more willing to say, why are we being so fucking boring? Let's do something fun. Let's have a good time. So I think if you were going to ask me a question, it would be, what did you do to shake up the status quo? And coincidentally, I think that the biggest answer there would be the round when Jess was evicted. I touched on this a lot in my opening statement, but I had a good relationship with Anna leading up to that point. When I found out that Anna wasn't willing to clue me in on the plan to backdoor you, that was when I knew that I couldn't go along with her plan. I had to shake up the status quo and say, okay, it's time to maybe piss a couple people off. It's time to maybe put my footprint out there and have people look at me a little bit. And we talked about this a lot on calls, and a lot of people will attest. I was ready to go to war. I was ready to push a 7-5 vote and make sure that you stayed. Obviously, we got incredibly lucky, or maybe not lucky, but we were, we benefited from people getting cold feet, and it was 12-0. But I think that was the moment when I most shook up the status quo of this game. I went against people that had maybe been in my corner before and gave them more of a reason to not trust me. But I think that in the long run, it did help develop those sides that Lee and I have both alluded to, and I could kind of slide through the middle of them.
Yeah, so having watched you as a production member of this game, I always looked at you as someone who really liked to build up the players that were playing and encourage the viewers to build them up as well. So I think one question that I would have expected from you was, what was a moment of growth coming from my first season to this season? I think it's because I always have seen you as kind of a positive build up people in their games type of thing. My answer to that question is, coming from BBH 11 and kind of speaking to what you were talking about is, which way was up with my lies. I showed my ass too early in BBH 11, and people were like, they sniped me because they were worried about what I was going to do later on in the game. Coming into this game, I came in with this whole, I want to show people I'm different. I want to show people that I'm not that person. And even though I kind of spiraled in the beginning, there was a point after top 19 where I shut up. When people told me to shut up, I tried to shut up and fade away and show people that I wasn't just that person that was the liar, that was the schemer. And then as soon as jury hit, I showed you all that I was exactly that person that you were afraid of, that, maybe you couldn't teach an old dog new tricks, but that dog could wear a disguise for a little bit of time. The thing that I will say is, not knowing which way was up, I showed early in the game, especially at the double, that my word wasn't worth shit. And yet people still took it. And I think that is something that I pride myself on, is that people may have thought that, your word's not really worth it. But if they thought that there was even an ounce of truth in it, that it was something that they had to at least consider. And so I showed people not to take my word, and some people still did. And I think that is a big part of, even when I was vulnerable, how I still slipped into this spot now.
Great. Thank you both. I'll just say, for me, I'm looking for someone who played a complete social strategic competition game. I think anyone who kills their, has a horrible strategy impacts our social game. And I think that's really something everyone's going to have to deal with. I want to see a complete game. Best of luck to you both. I appreciate the way you guys are reading me, reading the other jurors. Keep doing that. Keep fighting hard. Good luck to you both. Go Red Team.
Thank you very much, Dan. Okay, I'm going to clear some of the StreamYard a little bit backstage. So if you get kicked from backstage, don't be offended. Just clearing some room for our future jurors. And the next juror is, of course, my real favorite, because I'm obligated by blood to say it. But even if I wasn't, I love her so much. And having her back on the season was a joy and literally a gift. It was a gift to me for my birthday last year that she would play again. And she's back. It is Ash Money Cash Money.
Coming at you. What's good? All right. So I'm not going to lie. I was just saying in the jury chat that my heart was pounding and how nervous I was, because I have a lot to say, but I'm going to go ahead and start with saying everything I say is strictly about the game. I don't know you guys outside of the game, so I cannot judge your character outside of the game. So with that being said, Blake, right before I got voted out, I said you had one thing to do, and I'm going to do everything to make sure that still happens. Love you, bro. Okay. Lee, here is my disconnect. So your whole speech, everything you've been saying up to this point was your game has been messy. And I think you're using that word messy instead of unnecessary lying. and just deceitful. And there's this line. I understand the game. There's deceit, there's strategy, you're lying to people, but you took it beyond the game. You went out of your way to lie. For example, we all know the double eviction was probably the worst night of everybody's life in this game. And that was all because of you. You came to me and messaged me. People wanted me to put you up, but I wouldn't do that. I appreciated that. Then I come to find out you were going to put me up, but Ange said no. If she's up, she does. If Ange is up, Ange does not go home. If I was up, I would have gone home. So I'm not mad that you were going to put me up. I'm mad that you went out of your way to lie. And I feel you did that to a lot of people. And I understand this game, but there is no need to tell intentional lies. Like you said, you die for everybody in this game. But really, like, you can't say that to everyone. And I want to respect your game. I respect the fact that you won, but I can't respect how bad you made people feel, Lee. You took it way too personal. So my question is to you, why did you feel the need to lie so much to everybody's face? Why did you create a group chat saying, we're going to save AJ? But then he got voted out. Like, why did you lie to everyone? Why did you give false hope?
So the Save AJ chat was actually because I thought I had won the veto. I was totally planning to pull him off, and he was the last person I made the promise to that I would use the veto on. I was planning to pull him off if I won. Once he didn't and Anthony pulled it off, I had to adapt and kind of do something different. The unnecessarily lying, I mean, like I said, I am the kind of player that benefits from playing a game with lying, and it's what got me here because
You're here because nobody voted you out because everybody wanted to sit next to you because everyone's pretty pissed at you. So,
but I would say no one. I don't think that that's a valid thing to say though, because no one had the opportunity to vote me out.
That's not true, Lee. You had plenty of times to go up, but everybody's like, we'll see.
Well, I mean, from the jury here, I only didn't win a competition at top 8 and top 11. Those were the only 2 rounds I didn't win. Hammond was the HOH in those times, and I had not lied to him. I had shown him loyalty, and he was unwilling to go against me, even when faced with the please put Lee up. One of the things I will say about you is I think I considered putting just about every single person up in the double because I was a complete train wreck that round. I will own that I was a complete train wreck. But I said very clearly that you were someone I didn't want to put up. I think I was trying to talk myself back into putting, Ange up because it was one of those things like you can't unring the bell. You've already said her name, but I already said everyone's name. And that was just one of those things where it's like, yes, your name was thrown out to me. Anna's name was thrown out to me. These were things that I didn't want to do. I considered a variety of things. I thought putting you up might have been one of the easy way out, but I didn't want to do that. One of the things about my relationship with you in this game, I said this to many people, I always wanted to try and further my relationship with you in the game. I just never saw you biting. And
because I saw what a liar you were, so your word meant nothing to me, honestly.
Sure.
And again, I don't want you to think I'm attacking your personal character.
No, I don't see that at all.
It was just very disgusting to watch, and it made the game not fun. The times that you lied to everyone and shook things up made the game not fun. And I don't think it was strategy. I just think it was lying. And you told me in the first chat you had with me that your whole goal was to like redeem yourself and not be this chaotic person, but you did exactly that. And as a result, I don't know, it just kind of looked bad on you.
I think one of the things that, if I may respond still, one of the things that I saw is I came in and I really wanted to try and redeem myself in a heroic role. I saw that people just weren't believing I was going to do that. I saw that people weren't trusting I was going to do that. And even when I was trying to be forthcoming and straightforward, I would have people come to me and be like, so-and-so doesn't trust you. So-and-so doesn't trust you. You should just stop trying with them. And so at that point, I just kind of felt like, well, it's kind of that self-fulfilling prophecy. If no one's going to let me be this person, I'm just going to go back to what I know. And that's a cop-out. That's a cop-out on my end. But it was one of those things where it's like, I tried something and it wasn't working. And I felt like playing a new way was only going to get me so far. So I needed to try and adapt.
Well, congrats on winning all the comps you did. But other than that, I have no respect for your game. Blake, you played the hell out of this game. I hope you win. And you got my vote. All right, that's all. Love you guys.
Wait,
Bye.
don't go yet, Ashton. Don't go yet, Ashton, because
Okay.
I just need to warn you about something. Where is it? Hold on. Hold on. Where is it? Stay away from Mark Hallman.
Ashton, stay away. Like,
Yeah, bad news. Bad news. Bad news. No.
I know.
This is
Alright.
the one thing I won't lie to you about. Stay away from him.
I trust Blake.
We'll talk.
All right, Ashton. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
Love to both of you. Good luck.
All right. Next up is who was next? It was, of course, Mitchell Hammond.
Sorry I said that, Mark.
Hello. First off, I want to say Mark Hallman, great guy. All right. So tonight,
I adore Mark. I love him so much. Just stay away from Ashton. Thank you.
all right. Well, tonight's been a bit intense so far, I think. And so I want to ask a bit of a fun question because I think in the game, I worked pretty closely. I mean, especially with Lee and then with Blake here and there. I think you did kind of shut me out at different times, but I think we were on the same page quite a bit of rounds. And so I don't hold animosity like some people do. So as you both know, in Big Brother Hometowns, The Chase, coming to you soon, hopefully, as the producer, I'm a bit of a movie enthusiast. So my question for you both is, if you were to create a movie about your redemption story, who would be in the starring role to play you? What is the name of this movie? And tell me why your redemptive story was better than the other. Blake, I want you to go first.
Oh, Mitchell, you fucker. I've seen like 2 movies in my life. So no, I got it.
Perhaps maybe you shouldn't have canceled Paramount Plus then. But
Brother, I never canceled. I was capping. No, but I think that the kid, I don't know his name. I think his name is Devin Werkheiser, the kid from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. I think he would play me. I don't know what he's up to these days, but people used to tell me that I look like him, which was insulting to him, to say the very least. I think, and I know I've touched on this a lot, but I do think the name of my redemption story movie would be the Hee-Hees and the Ha-Has, because in BBH 11, you look at all my content in that game, I played for the content. I played to make things funny. I tried to shoot the shit, make funny content. Wait, what was the other part? I'm sorry. Give me the other part of your question.
and why your redemptive story or movie is better than the other. So better than these.
For sure. I think that my redemption story, just in a movie sense and in a general sense, is better than Lee's, because what Lee came into this game setting out to do, quite simply, Lee did not do. If you want to look at this purely on a second chance perspective, I think that it's clear that one of us grasped our second chance and righted the wrongs and changed the things that we came in intending to change. And I don't think that Lee did. I think that Lee, and Ashton just touched on this, Lee's biggest problem in BBH 11 was the chaos. And I think that the thing that maybe changed a little bit in 15 was that Lee had more people in his corner from a preseason perspective. But I don't think that Lee made the changes that he needed to make in this game and that he came in intending to make. I came into this game having not done enough calls with people in 11. I didn't have my finger on the pulse of the game. I didn't know fucking RBG was a thing until Justin Powell's goodbye video. Whereas this season, I feel pretty confident that throughout the pre-jury and a majority of the jury phase of this game, my thumb was firmly on the pulse of where everything was going. Every single round of the pre-jury, I knew who was going up, who the target was, where the votes were going, with the exception of a few rounds, which I just didn't dig into, Davey Tommy being one of them. I didn't care to find out where the votes went because I knew Davey was going. I think that I turned up the social. I turned up the strategic. I won more comps in this than I did in 11. Everything that I came in saying I wanted to do, and I wanted to look back on season 15 and say, I'm not a joke within the BBH franchise. I fucking did that shit. And regardless of what happens, I think I had a complete second chance story. Whatever tonight's outcome is, I righted everything that I did wrong in 11. And I think for once I played the hell out of a game with everything that I had in me. And that's what I came in to do. Sorry, that got deep for a second.
Thank you, Blake. And now Lee.
Yeah, so I would probably just pick myself because I have such main character syndrome, but that's not the assignment. So I would pick Tom Holland because I always like to joke about how I'm younger than I actually am. So I would pick Tom Holland to play myself. And I think that the name of the movie would be The Chameleon, because I feel like I had to adapt when things didn't go my way. When things didn't go my way, I didn't cuss people out and say, how dare you do that? I kind of just skirted away and said, hey, I understand. And I had to adapt. And I came in with certain goals of things that I wanted to change. My biggest redemption story coming in, and I said this to Dan, I said this to Blake, was that I didn't do a good enough job of reassuring the people I really wanted to work with that I was with them. The people who I think I was the most closely aligned with in this game were Blake, you, Danny, and Carly. And I made sure to reassure people like the four of you that I was with you, that I had your back. And even if I made certain decisions that you disagreed with, I was with you. And I maintained loyalty to that group of people. I tried as much as I could to maintain that. I was the chameleon because I was adaptable and fluid in situations. And sometimes I changed beyond, what I should have. Sometimes it was an unnecessary color change. I would have new information and I would change. But I think I had to adapt. There were points where I had to win. There were points where I didn't have to win to make it further. Why I think my redemption story is a little bit better than Blake's, because I think he has a great one, is that I think I'm responsible for him being able to be here. I saved his life on 2 occasions. Once when you were the HOH, and once in the Final Four when I realized that Anna was going to evict him, and I didn't want to let that happen. So I think that part of his redemption story here, or getting to the final 2, is in fact due to the fact that I made decisions to save him. And you know how much I was sending you bullet points of why it was in our best interest to save Blake here. And yeah, it bit you in the ass, and it bit me in the ass because it wasn't something, I didn't think that you'd actually go out the next round. But I think that I'm at least partly responsible for Blake's life in this game, in the later rounds. And I had to win out. Like, I can't say that Blake is responsible for my life in this game.
Blake, go ahead.
I didn't know if it would be taboo. I just wanted to get permission. If I can rebut, is that the word? Rebut to what Lee just said. In terms of making his allies feel comfortable, I don't think I can say with full certainty that he actually did that. The amount of conversations that Danny and I had together about how we weren't sure about Lee and that we needed to distance ourselves from him. The fact of the matter is that if I felt confident enough with Lee in this game, there may have been a different outcome for the Final 5 or the Final 4. Mitchell, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for you, but the fact of the matter is that Lee was a driving force behind me staying. Yes, I will never take that away from him, but I don't know how that makes you feel comfortable when he went actively against your wishes and then was comfortable in knowing that you were going out the next round. I heard a lot of whispers after the fact that Lee pushed for you to stay, so I'll never take that away from him. But he was comfortable in knowing that there were at least 2 votes to evict you and that I would be the tie-breaking vote. So if the second chance story is about making his allies feel comfortable and secure, I don't know a single person on this jury that can say that he did that.
Okay, and then I just want a real quick one word. If either of you say more than one word, you're not getting my vote. What is one word that you would use to describe your game this season? Lee, you're first.
Rough.
And Blake?
Calculated.
All right. I appreciate you both. I adore the both of you. It was a pleasure playing alongside both of you in this game. I had a lot of lows, and you all were there to pick me up on all of those times. So I appreciate you both and love y'all. Josh, I'm out.
Mitchell, you were awesome this season. So good to have you back. I think the timing was really good for you in terms of your gaming life to come back when you did. Played an absolutely incredible game. Could have easily been sitting in these last 2 chairs. I never gave you a full words of encouragement. So you were awesome. So glad to have you back.
Yeah, you gave me a Kieran. I'm at Kieran's house. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I figured that was just good. All right. Next up is someone who I also thought played an absolutely extraordinary game this season and was so excited to have back, and that is Tommy DiCarlo.
Hi there. Everyone can hear me, right? Okay, great. I'm very glad that Mitchell Hammond had a good time playing this game with the both of you because at some level, both of you made the game absolutely miserable for me. Lee, playing the game with you, I just honestly could not pick a worse person to feel like I was playing this game with. And I simply just could not detach myself from you all game, no matter how much I was trying. And then Blake, it was just nearly impossible to talk to you at the beginning because it feels like you kind of just already had your people and everyone else could go fuck themselves. And then when it came time to, like, I really, hopefully needed you, you just weren't there, and you were like, well, we hadn't really connected earlier. And I was like, well, that's kind of your fault. So yeah, this is like the worst possible final two for me to really have to pick between. So all of that aside, I'm going to probably make up my decision based on other people's questions because I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of the information that neither one of you would pass to me during the game, which, great for you, bad for me. I don't think that you can play this game without a little bit of luck. So just two things I want to know. What percentage of the game would you attribute luck to? Like, what percentage of your game, you ending up in these final two seats? And then, like, what was a moment that, like, was just complete luck the way it happened? And Lee, don't talk about the double eviction because I promise you nobody wants to hear it anymore. And Blake, you can go first.
Yes, sir. So first of all, I just want to say, I know you don't want to hear this, but I do apologize for shutting you out in the beginning of this game. I know people are tired of hearing that my prod chat and the VL will reflect this, but it's one of the biggest regrets I had because when we did start to get on that path where we were working together, you were one of the people I enjoyed calls with and I enjoyed shooting ideas with the most. So I really didn't want to make this game a miserable experience for you. And if I could go back and undo that, I absolutely would. But alas, I cannot. I just am a giant bitch, and I'm sorry. I would say that a good player would have 30% social, 30% strategic, 30% physical, and maybe 10% luck. I think I've maybe give or take a couple percentages. I think I was maybe about 10, 9, 8% luck. It's really hard to boil it down because there's a lot of things that maybe I won't know until the postseason. Maybe a lucky conversation that someone had with an HOH kept me safe. I think that, and this isn't my answer, but I think I got kind of lucky at the last minute at Final Four when Anthony scared Lee into thinking that Anna wasn't going to evict him. So he gave me the sole vote to evict. The luckiest moment in my game was being able to do a tiebreaker with Anthony during the Deal or No Deal HOH competition. I was in a good position, I thought, in the game at that time. I didn't necessarily think I needed to clinch an HOH because I had a lot of connections on a lot of sides. And there were people that I was working on building bonds with, namely yourself, Anthony, a couple other people. So I didn't want to have to show my ass and put those people up. I was a stupid fucking idiot and went all the way and got the $1 million case because I am a dumb piece of shit. And I was very lucky that me and Anthony both got the $1 million and that I was able to leverage that into a strategic move and build a connection with him, give him that HOH, say, find your footing, let's shake this shit up together. But I think that the best players in these games use those lucky moments and leverage them into social connections, into strategic moves, into comp wins. And time again, when I was given good luck, I tried to use that to do something that I could actually control. So using that luck of Anthony also getting the $1 million, I formed that connection. It was something that took me a long way. And I think with either of the two finalists, or final three members, Lee or Anthony, I think I would have been sitting in the final two. And I think a lot of that was due in part to that connection I formed in the Deal or No Deal competition.
Yeah, so I just want to start similarly to Blake and say, I think one of the things for me looking back on our relationship was I played this game wrong with you. I played this game trying to worry about how I could protect you rather than include you. And I think that is where I fundamentally went wrong with our relationship. And I'm sorry for that, but that's not the question you asked. I'm going to be real. My luck was probably about 30% in this game. I think that I had a lot of luck in this game. I think, as I said in my opening speech, I am a student of this game. I was well prepared for comps as they came along, and I got lucky when I was correct. I was lucky when I was prepared for comps and could do well. I was lucky when those right things came at the right time. I was lucky by winning Final 6 HOH because no one wants Final 5 HOH. And I was lucky in those moments that when the 2 rounds that I was vulnerable, that one of my allies that I knew would protect me won HOH in both times. And even as much as you pushed at Hammond to put me up and backdoor me, he wouldn't do it. I think my biggest moment of luck, though, was something that was probably a little more controlled for. And that was when Hammond gave me safety in the final round of the pre-jury. I think that there was a point where my game was maybe starting to be seen by some people, for better or for worse. And I know that, you know, as the ants was getting leaked, and I know that that was trying to get pinned on me, which it wasn't, I was a little afraid that, you know, maybe I would have been in trouble had that not happened. But the best luck in that was when safety ended with me and I didn't have to pass it to someone else, because I had essentially told Blake I would give it to him, had Dan come to me, and Dan was really pushing hard because he wanted the safety as well. And I was telling him, you know, these are great points. These are great points. I didn't really want to have to show my cards and have to give safety. So, you know, a big part of luck there was not having to pass it and having it end with me.
Thank you. Also, side note, I love the both of you as people. I just don't like you as players in this specific game. So good luck to the both of you.
Thank you, Tommy.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you very much, Tommy. Next up is Danny DeStangelis.
Hello. This is gonna be a different experience because I actually enjoyed playing with both of you. Crazy. Anyway, like you both were my two biggest allies in the game, so I can't vote based on that. So I will be asking both of you questions. My first question is for Lee. I want you to let me know what's a weakness in Blake's game that should be considered, and how did you do it well?
I think a weakness in Blake's game is that, especially in the later part of the pre-jury, like I think that people didn't always know where they stood with Blake. Whereas I felt like in the later part of the jury, I felt like people knew where they stood with me. I think especially starting with Carly's vote out, I said, I'm voting for Carly to stay. I don't care what the rest of y'all are doing. Now, looking back, I knew that maybe we could have actually rounded up the votes to save her if some of us would have just been talking. But I stood my ground on saving Carly. I was going to save Hammond until he gave me his blessing. I voted to keep you because I was never going to waver from that. And I said, let these two other people, and Anthony and Blake, show their cards and show that they weren't loyal to you. But I think I was really a lot better at standing my ground in the later jury in terms of what I wanted to happen. Even at the final four, when it made so much sense for me to give Anna the vote to evict, I had two things competing there. I had this desire for Anthony to leave the game, but more so I had this desire because I had made Blake a promise going into the final four HOH that I would give him the voting power, because I realized I was with three people that didn't want me in the game any longer. And so I said, I will give you the voting power. He said, I'll take your deal. And I said, if I break my deal and he gets evicted because of this, I'm going to feel the shittiest, because I have not only broken the deal, but he went out of the game because of it. So I had to weigh, is it more important that I get my way in Anthony leaving, or is it more important that Blake not get totally fucked over by this? And when I got this cold feet, or got this, you know, idea from Anthony's messages and Anna's messages that actually things were not cool and that what I wanted was not going to happen, that's when I changed my mind there at the end. So I think I stood firm in what I wanted to happen and where my values were in the game. And I think that really started at Carly's vote out.
And Lee, I mean, although you did promise me you wanted to take Anna to the end, I can't even fault you for what you did, because you were absolutely right. Anna was going to vote out Blake in that moment. So
can I say something there? Just by
Sure.
I just also I want to own that I was a little bit of a brat in that moment. Like I was a bit of a brat in the moment that it was like, oh cool, you're not going to do what I want, I'm going to punish you for it, and I'm going to let you get evicted, because I knew that Blake wasn't going to evict Anthony. But it was just at that point where I was like, well, I can get over that, but like I'm not going to let this happen, because I also felt like Anna and Anthony were two people that were never going to take me to the end. Also thinking that Anna would probably win if there was a cup challenge, but there was that's all to be said. I could tell that there was something afoot, and that's why I changed my mind with like 3 minutes to spare.
Okay, awesome. Taking an intermission to show that I'm wearing my Girl Who the Fuck Scream shirt in honor of both finalists. Anyway, my next question is for Blake. I mean, I think you answered the question I asked Lee already, like pretty well, so I'm not going to ask you that. But I will ask, why should I specifically vote for you to win this game? Like, I not even like speak on like a journey thing or anything like that. Like especially like in the last 24 hours of the game, I felt like we left on like a bad ending, and you did speak on that in your intro speech, which I appreciated. But you said you played an honest game at the Final Four and then like kind of backtracked on like our promises. So I just want to know like why. I'm not playing bitter. I don't know where I'm voting. I just want to know, why should I vote for Blake Radcliffe tonight?
Yeah, of course. And I just want to say, evicting you in that final five was literally the hardest thing that I did in this game. Believe what you will, believe that or not. For me personally, in that moment, and I do agree that I think we left on a little bit of a bad note, based on the lies that Lee had told throughout this game, and I'm sorry that you caught the brunt of this, I didn't feel particularly safe going into Final Four with you both, because while Lee reassured me time and time again that he wouldn't take you and you wouldn't take Lee, I had heard too much about you from other people, about things that you did behind my back, where I didn't feel particularly comfortable going into that Final Four situation, because at the end of the day, Lee told me he wanted one of the three of us to win. And I wasn't naive. I knew that his allegiance was higher with you than it was with me. And going into 4, I knew that Anthony was the biggest target in the game, and a shot would have been taken at him. I don't think I would have made the end in that instance. I apologize that I didn't handle the fallout and didn't handle like explaining that to you more eloquently. It was a bad set of circumstances and timing, but I do feel like I was maybe unintentionally dismissive, and I apologize for that, because I thought through that. Me and Erica had a very intense dinner at a Chili's where I sat and had a full-on spiraling panic attack, because I was like, I can't fucking evict Danny, but I have to evict Danny. To answer your question as to why you should vote for me, I think more than almost anyone in this game, you saw the highs and the lows of everything that I went through. And I think that you understand my game better than a lot of people in the jury and a lot of people in the pre-jury, whatever. You saw every move that I made, because whether you were as loyal to me as I was to you or not, I was making every move in lockstep with you, because that's what I wanted to do. So you heard every thought process that I had, whether it was chaotic, stupid. You talked me off the ledge a few times, and I think we both did the same for each other. So I think if there's anyone in this jury, with the exception, like you and Ashton both, I think, and Ange are 3 people, but like you into the end game, who saw all my thought processes and understand why I made the moves that I did. And I would truly hope that you would, you know, having seen that, have respect for the game that I played. I don't think that you would be a bitter juror, but if there is an ounce of you that is upset with me for the way that the Final 5 vote went down, I would not blame you, and I'm not going to pull your arm. But I do think that I think that everyone wants their gameplay to be respected, and I think that you saw the most of mine above all else in this game. And so that's why I think you should vote for me, because I think you have the clearest picture, with the exception of the final 4 and 3 rounds, of where my head was at throughout the course of the season.
Okay. Also, Blake, I do think it was the correct move to take me out at the final 5. I would have took Lee 100%. So there's that. So I mean, I can't blame you. But I mean, that's all I gotta say. I think that I want to comment that no matter, like, if you get to the end of this game, you deserve to be there. You deserve to win. So I commend both of you for making it this far, for doing the things you had to do to make it this far. And you would both be winners one way or another. Keep your heads high. Whatever happens, happens. And best of luck to both of you. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, Danny. A pleasure having you back this season. Also, another stellar game player. This cast was just full of rock stars. And of course, none brighter than Anna, who's next.
Hi, everyone. Have a good night. So, full disclosure here, I love you both, and I respect you both to some extent. And I am going to sound like a bitter queen, but of course, you made the right move. You both did. You're sitting there in the end. I respect that. And if Anthony was there, he could literally shit on my cast picture and I'd still vote for him. Both of you had your own ways of playing. It was really different from my way of playing. I respect that. One of you is a spoiled little brat who can't really face everyone and just avoided them. The other one is a manipulative bitch who really played on everyone's emotions. But coming to this, I really wanted to play with both of you, and it came to a point where I felt like we were not playing the same game. I really wanted to ask you this, Lee, because in our last call, you told me that you thought you had no chance of winning this game and that you wanted to take the person that you thought would deserve to win and your friends and blah, blah, blah. So what I really want to know is, don't you give a shit about winning this?
I mean, I think part of it was definitely a poor, pitiful me. Like, I definitely started this whole, at the final 13, or I should say in the final 11, this whole, I'm sending 2 more people that are mad at me. I'm sending more people that are mad at me, because I truly believed that not you, not Blake, not Anthony would take me to the end, that I would have to ensure myself at the end. So I don't know how much of me believed I could win versus how much I didn't think I could win. I've never been in a spot where I've even been this close to winning before. So I look and sound a lot inexperienced because I am. And I think that of course I want to win. And that is always something that I've wanted. I think any of the 3 of you would have deserved to win, because I think that we had a really phenomenal jury phase of this game, and people that were left, we had great winner picks. But I think that I did get inside my own head a lot of the time in this game. I think I felt sorry for myself, or at least made people believe I was feeling sorry for myself. I didn't see myself here. I mean, I think that there was a point in time, probably starting at final 5 or 6, where I really did have to win, because we lost Mitchell. And I think that, one of my biggest regrets was not using that veto on him to kind of keep him in front of me. But I truly was down on myself and thinking, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I can't do this. And there was a lot of negative self-talk. There was a lot of self-sabotaging. But there was a lot of also just sticking to I've stuck with the people that I've worked with. And there was a point where we got to this piece where it was like, I've worked with all these people to an extent, but who no longer serves the greatest benefit to my game? I was going, and you'll see, I was going to keep that word to you and let you have that vote to evict until 5 minutes before
You did right. I was not going to keep Blake in this game. I already wanted him out long ago when he was standing against Ashton, and I pushed really hard for him to leave, and he didn't. So you did the right move.
It was just one of those things where I was like, hey, maybe I'm going into a harder thing. But the other thing that I didn't like was that, people would talk about how your game maybe wasn't as one to like that I could beat you. Like, people would say, hey, we took out Anna because we thought you'd take her thinking you could beat her. I didn't think I could beat you. I thought that you had a lot better jury management than I did. I mean, I think my jury management was shit, but I never
don't worry.
I never saw you as someone that I could beat in this game. And that's why it didn't seem like a dumb move for me to allow you to go out last round.
Yeah, okay. I appreciate it. At least you, for once, was honest with me. Blake, I really don't have much to ask you because I feel like I really got to see most part of your game, and I respect it. I really think you did right at taking me out in the end, even though I think you could beat me. Of course, it's just I really want to know if you could choose like any juror to sit by your side that you would rather see winning than you, who would you take with you?
Okay, cool. I do have an answer to that. I just want to say, Anna, you were one of the jurors I was most excited to get to talk to and explain my perspective to you. Whether you want to hear it or not, I can shut the fuck up if you don't want to hear it. But I just want to say,
go on.
In the early stages of this game, above almost anyone else, you were one of the people whose relationship I was prioritizing. I went through a lot personally in the beginning, so maybe my actions didn't reflect that. But I think that you lost a lot of trust in me when I vetoed Ashton on live night. Maybe I was misguided in that. But when we had the call when you won HOH and I poured my heart out and said, here are all the people I would nominate, and then I heard from others that you were going to backdoor Dan and you hadn't told me, I think that was like the detriment to our relationship. Even into the jury phase, I really did want to work with you a lot. But I just kept hearing Anna wants you out when I was up against Ashton, which I'm glad to hear that that was the case, because I was starting to feel crazy. You were an absolute master at you're a good fucking liar. Like I know you know that, but like you had me fooled so many fucking
I'm
times.
learning a lot from Lee in this season.
But yeah, but like you had me convinced for a little bit that you didn't want me out. But as far as a juror that I would a juror that I think would deserve to win this game, is that what you asked? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that you would like to be sitting with right now instead of Lee.
Yeah. So full transparency, I obviously didn't have to make this decision, but if I had won the final HOH tonight, I was going to take Anthony to the end. A lot of the jury may see that as stupid, and I understand that a lot of the jury respects the shit out of Anthony's game, as they should. I think Anthony put so much of his heart and soul into this game. He sacrificed a lot in his personal life. He had a lot going on, but he still made time for every person every single day. The man wiggled his way from the bottom to the top, maybe not the top, but near the top. And I think that my heart was going to make me take Anthony to final 2 if I had won this HOH. So coming into this part 3, I had such a dilemma of like, I thought I maybe had a better chance with Lee. And I thought both would be deserving winners. Both would be super happy to win, and I would love to see it. But I wouldn't mind sitting next to Anthony, because win or lose, it would have been a hard-fought battle. And I think the dude has a passion for these games that I've never personally seen in all the years that I've played. You guys have heard me say this too many times. I love and respect every single juror. From Final 13 on, I was like, every single person could win this game. So that's not a slight to anyone else's games. It's just I saw the most of Anthony's, and like the dude's got fucking heart. So I might have lost if I sat next to Anthony, but that was a risk I was willing to take because I respected his game so much.
I really appreciate both of your answers. Just know that I really love you both, and I was so glad to get the opportunity to play this together. I think I heard everything that I needed to. Good luck.
Love you. I feel like I'm unsupervised without... Oh, he's back.
Sorry, my internet just had a whole moment and a half. So, next up, you just saw him a few minutes ago. I think he's oh man, we are really strong. Everybody, give me a second.
Josh
make sure that everything is good.
Josh is on the StreamYard from his Nintendo DS.
All right, am I here? Am I
You're
alive?
You're here-ish, brother.
Ish, yeah.
I'll take it. Here's Anthony.
Reporting live from my Samsung refrigerator. Just joking. I have 2 questions. Long time no see, gentlemen. This was just I can't even explain this journey to experience with you all and everyone on jury, but it's just so neat. It's pretty neat, as Josh would say, to be able to see you all again in this season after we played season 11. I think it was what was season 11, like the second or third to worst season ranked according to whatever recap that they did. But I think it goes to show that we took our second chance seriously. So here we are. But I have 2 questions. One's serious and then one's kind of fun. The first one is, I want to know from both of you, what was the hardest move in the game that you had to make? Like, what was the hardest thing that you felt like you had to do to achieve success to get to where you are? And either one could start.
If I may. I kind of already touched on one move that was incredibly hard for me, so I don't want to be redundant because I talked about the Danielle vote a lot. I'll give a little bit of both. The Danielle vote was one that was incredibly hard for me because, Anthony, I wanted to prove loyalty to you above all else. And taking out Danielle was super, super hard for me. She was, like I said before, she was one of my rocks in this game. She kept me grounded and level-headed. In the way that Lee's described that I was able to sometimes keep his head on straight, Danny did that for me a lot. But I knew ultimately that on a game level, building that trust with you and trying to secure a path to the end was what made the most sense for me. And so that's what I had to do. My other would be not pushing harder for Angelica to stay against Mitchell. Obviously, me and Mitchell ended up feuding a couple rounds later, but Angelica was someone in this game who also did a lot for me. And that was incredibly hard when I had to look Angelica in the eyes on a call and say, you just don't have the votes. It sucked shit because she had done a lot for me and I wanted to pay that back. And ultimately, I just wasn't able to, no matter how hard I tried with people. I said, Ashton, we need to take Mitchell out. Lee, Danny, we need to take Mitchell out. And just nobody would hear me. And so it was really hard to write her name down. Well, I guess I didn't write it. You know what I mean? To say her name in my eviction vote because I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want to show distrust with Mitchell, which ultimately happened anyway, but that's another story. So it was hard to look someone who had been so good to me in this game in the eyes and say, you just don't have the votes and have to evict them. So yeah, those two were big for me.
So I think emotionally, one of the hardest moments was the call that we had after I had nominated you in the round we don't talk about. So because we don't talk about that round, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I think the hardest move for me was not using the veto on your top 10 HOH. And I think one of the things that was really hard about that is because on paper, like if we were just going off the friend game, like I would have 100% used the veto on one of Angelica or Mitchell in that moment. And I went to you and I fought and we fought and we went back and forth. And I said, I want Dan to go up. This is the moment. This is your moment. This is the time to take the shot. And you just wouldn't do it. And I pride you on that because I think that sets you up for live night in a really good way. But I immediately was trying to plant the seeds of, hey, if Dan was up, would you vote him out? If Dan was up, would you vote him out? And I don't know exactly what happened or how this transpired, but earlier when I had gotten the information from Danny, from Mitchell, that I was a backdoor target when Dan thought that he had won the Deal or No Deal, Danny and I would then go into the Hamburglar chat with Blake and inform Blake essentially that the targets were initially going to be Blake and Ashton with me as a backdoor. I then also run to Ashton. I feel like Blake had probably already told her at this point. But one of the things I did mention to Ashton is say, hey, I'm trying to get Dan put up, but Anthony won't do it. I think they're pretty close. I think Anthony's protecting him. And live night happens and Ashton puts up the two of you. I think I was still the backdoor option as I heard. But it allowed the two of you to be put up ahead of me. And I think that was a hard moment, you know, not using that veto. I think I got ahead of that, but really trying to stick to my gun and what I wanted to have happen. And I wanted to save one of my friends in that moment, but I was so unsure of what you would do in that moment, because even though I was friends with them, I was so afraid that you might, you know, I said, this is a move we have to do together. And if it was a move that we didn't do together, you know, as we saw later on when Tommy used the veto and kind of ripped that away, and then Mitchell said, haha, we're going to do this instead. I was so afraid that you'd put up like Danny or someone just to punish me. So unless I had your buy-in,
100% I would have put up Danny.
yeah. So unless I had your buy-in, I wasn't going to take someone off the block, because I think if Danny goes up, I think Mitchell is then totally fucked next to her. So it was one of those things where I was like, we have to do it together. It sucks and it's hard that I can't do it here, but I wasn't willing to risk Danny because of the relationship that I had with her in this game.
Those are great answers. Thanks, guys. Also, so for just some fun and maybe can create something out of this, if you could describe one piece of merch that would be in the BBH store that would represent your game from this season, what would it be? What would it look like? And why?
I got it. Mine would be the case that I selected in the fucking Deal or No Deal competition. On the front would be the closed case. I believe the number may have been 24. I can't remember. On the back would be the opened case with the million inside of it, and just a cutout of my face when I realized I was probably going to be the HOH that round. Personally, I would go with a crew neck. That's most of what I wore throughout the season. Maybe like a nice yellow, a bright yellow. We're always repping. I feel like that that feels right, or maybe something to do with me in a different hotel. A nice no vacancy related one was a big part of my game. But I'm always going yellow crew neck. That's just the style that I'm going for. But those both feel right in terms of what I think were my shining content moments of the season.
So part of me wants to say I would just design a trash bag because I think that there was a lot of moments where I felt like my game was in the trash, but that's not a real piece of merch. I would say that I would, from hosting before and creating merch before, I love quotes, and I love quotes that kind of sum up things that happen in the season. And the first time I ever really got called out in this game was when Jessica T said, "Lee, I hope you step on Legos." And it made me laugh and laugh and laugh. And immediately, as soon as that round's over, Jess and I create a group with Blake, and I'm like, "Hey, Jess, I want to be a better ally to you. Like, I'll step on Legos for you. It's fine." So I think that quote of like the "Haley, I hope you step on Legos," it was one of those things where it was like, if Jess had more social capital, that could have been damning to my game, but she just didn't. And I think that was one of those things. It was kind of like, in season 11, we had Ashley Harbison who did the PSA, and it was one of those things that I had done such a good job with my other allies as well, and discrediting Ashley, that her PSA, it's like it put things in the back of your mind, but you didn't believe it. So when Jess did the whole "Lee, I hope you step on Legos" thing, it was funny, but no one really cared. No one really read into it, and I went unscathed from nominating Jess in that moment. And so I think it was one of those things. It was like, history repeated itself a lot in this game, for me, for Blake, for you, for a lot of other people. Even people winning things at, the times that they won things before in the past. And so for that moment, me, and to be able to get out of my first kind of being called out moment unscathed meant a lot. And so I would definitely highlight that quote as something that kind of stuck out to me on, I would do it probably on the premium hoodie. I enjoy a hoodie. I make a lot of hoodies on Teespring just so that I can wear them.
That's great. I appreciate you guys. This was a great experience. Thank you all. Good luck tonight, and I'm proud of both of you. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Anthony. I'm going to kick you out of here. All right. That's everybody, right? I believe that's everybody. All right. One final step, one final plea for each of you. Blake will go first, and then you don't need me to pass it over. Blake, you pass it over to Lee when you're done, and then we'll get to the vote.
Brother, I sure the fuck will. I'm not into the closing statements. I feel like if you guys haven't already decided where your vote is going, I don't know if anything else that I can say in this moment will. What I would like to remind you of is that I did not have the luxury of winning competitions. I had to scrap and use my social connections and make moves strategically, looking 3 rounds down the line that would keep me safe in those following rounds, because I couldn't rely on a competition win. Sure, I had a couple vetoes, a couple HOHs. I did use those as much as I can to leverage my position in this game. But ultimately, I think that it came down to the social positioning and the strategic foresight that I had. And I truly hope that all of you can look at the greater scope of this game. This is a second chance season. We all came back to prove why what we did the first time was wrong, undo that, and do the right thing this time. I believe that I would be such a fitting representative for this season because I don't think there's anyone with a stronger second chance story than myself. I didn't call with people in BBH 11. I was in La La Land that whole time. I was just there to make the episodes funny. This time I came in, I buckled down. I've never been more fucking dialed into a game in my whole life in the bajillion years I've played these stupid games. Maybe I wasn't on calls as much as I should be in the early game. I own that fully. But when it came down to crunch time, I was on calls consistently, and I had my finger on the pulse. I knew where everything was going to go. I was never blindsided in this game. The closest that I came to being blindsided was in the Dan eviction, when I knew that it was possible for a 3-3 vote to happen, and the outcome that I wanted would still happen. If you are looking for the strongest overall representative of this season, I embody that. I did everything that I could. I made the moves I needed to set myself up at 5, at 4, at 3. I played an honest, truthful game, which I've never done in my life. I honestly, in most games, pride myself on lying. I go into the touchy subjects challenge and get biggest villain, person you never want to talk to again. I got only positives this season, and I think that was due in part to the fact that even if maybe you didn't know where I was looking in 3 rounds, you always knew where you stood in the moment with me. And that was something I made a point to myself and to others to do. I did what felt right. As corny as it sounds, I did the morally right thing, and I wanted to do unto others as they had done unto me. And I think that I was able to blend that with strategic gameplay, and because of that, I'm sitting in the final 2 tonight. All love to Lee. Lee, you're an incredible human being. I can't thank you enough for just the person that you've been in my life in the past year. It's crazy that I have barely known you for a year. It feels like I've known you for a lifetime. I would personally be happy to see either person win this game tonight because I know it'll mean a lot to both of us. But please look at the overall scope of this game, and I hope that I've done enough to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Blake. So I feel like we haven't talked enough about this being second chances. And I feel like we have some, but we haven't talked about this being second chances enough. And this was a second chance for me, not only in this game, but really in orgs. Maybe it was a 6th chance, 7th chance. You know, I historically did not do well in orgs, and my biggest problem was myself. My biggest problem in this game has been myself. I came in, you know, being spirally, being paranoid, and even having people come to me and say, hey, people are kind of waiting for you to flame out and be the mess, but no one's really targeting you here. And I use that information to my advantage. I was also never really blindsided in this game in terms of votes. I mean, when things changed, but like I always knew what was happening, you know, at the moment. But whenever things got too messy, I recovered. And I played a complete game. I had to show all of my cards. I had to get out there and even nominate and show what I was thinking when it was unnecessary for me to do so. I had high highs, and I had some really, really low lows. I mean, I came in and played a very dominant competitive game, which was something that I didn't know that I could do, but was something I really wanted to do coming into this season. And it was something that I got to check off a lot of things on my bucket list in this game. Making a jury, I had never done that in a Big Brother game, let alone BBH. Getting to play my first live stream competition that I never got to do, and then winning it, and then going on to winning more. And history repeated. You know, there were things that it was like, hey, I wish I could have done this differently, but I unnecessarily won too many comps in the beginning of this game and realized I needed to take a back seat and try to rely on my social game. And I think in the pre-jury, you know, even though people were a little bit wary of me, I played a pretty, I wouldn't say dominant social game, but I played a very good pre-jury game, and that I don't think I was going to be targeted in the pre-jury of this game. I think the only time I was ever going to be targeted is potentially when Ian was HOH. I think I did a good job of talking myself out of that because I had lied in the save Erica scenario. I was never on board to save Erica. But that was one of those things that, yes, my mess wasn't always calculated. Yes, my mess wasn't always purposeful, but my recovery was always purposeful. My recovery was always intentional. And every single time I did recover, and that's why I'm here now. I lied. Yes, that is just kind of the player that I am coming into this game. But I think one of the things that I saw was, especially when I saw how every round I came in and I said, hey, I just want to not be first boot. Okay, now I just don't want to be first boot of the bunkers. Now I just want to make it to jury. Now I just want to kind of make it maybe to the middle jury game. And I started to see a world where I could really make it to the end of this game. And it was one of those things that I saw it more as playing for my charity. If I won or not, you know, the more that I could do, it was people were standing in the way of my charity and what we were all here for. And I wasn't going to apologize for that. And yeah, my methods were maybe not the kind that all of you would employ. Maybe none of you would employ them, but it's what worked for me. I lied to people. People lied right back, and I lied right back. I learned to lie to people because sometimes lying to people keeps them at bay. You know, if I'm lying to people until the last minute, or if I'm lying to people, it doesn't give them the opportunity to blow me up, because it wouldn't have taken much to blow me up in this game. but I needed to keep people at bay so that they wouldn't be able to blow me up, or at least I could minimize what they were blowing me up. When I targeted people, it's because I found out that they didn't trust me, or that they, were lying to me in this game. And I wasn't always able to tell them, hey, I caught you, but I was able to plant these seeds to get back right at them. And I think the first real evidence of that was the relationship Amanda and I had. When I started finding out she was being shifty with me, I planted all sorts of seeds against Amanda. And I think the very first seed I planted was with AJ. And going into live night, the first live night, I think there were a lot of people that were going to target Amanda had they had the power to do so. And I wanted to make sure that any of these people that were lying to me could be targeted or at least looked at before they'd have a chance to take a shot right back at me. Again, I have been seen, and maybe you still see me this way, as a joke, as a meme, as someone that you shouldn't take very seriously. Coming into this, I mean, no one thought I was going to make it this far, myself included. None of you, I don't think, would think that I would make it this far. And I mean, you weren't wrong in thinking that. I think that I've come into this game, even when I play with friends, and this is where it's been kind of hard, is I've played games with friends before, and I've always been the expendable friend. I've always been the one that is kind of like, oh, it's funny to vote Lee out. It's a really fun joke to do that. And that's why I turned on people as soon as I did, because I didn't want to just be seen as the butt of the joke anymore. And some of you still see me as the butt of the joke, and I can't change your mind on that. And I'm not here to do that. But for me, it was about redeeming myself. And even there was a point, where I come into this game and I've allowed people to walk all over me, and a lot. I've allowed friends to walk all over me. I've allowed allies to work all over me. And I think a lot of the story getting towards the end of this game is about, where does Lee find his agency? Maybe you don't think that I was very instrumental in votes and how they flipped, but also, was that my goal? And is that the only way to make yourself important in this game? I don't necessarily think so, but I think that I did have some agency in this game. Part of that is the fact that I had to get out there and I had to nominate probably half the house, half the cast in doing so. And that is where I found some agency. And when I threw people up, I mean, it's not that they were necessarily expendable, but those were people that I no longer felt like I could take much further. So you take out who you want. I'll say who I prefer. But at the end of it, it doesn't really matter. I mean, even going back to, I think it was round 3 when Amanda and I were co-HOHs, I remember very clearly Amanda was saying, hey, I want to target AJ here. And I was like, no, like that doesn't make any sense for me, because I don't have question marks about AJ. Or at least at the time, I didn't have question marks. There was a point where I was like, AJ and I are very good in this game. He doesn't need to go. And so I started planting those seeds against Marcelo. Even though it wasn't really necessarily my target, or I didn't prefer him to go, of course you would prefer the person you nominated to go. But it was one of those things where it's like, if you went up under any of my reign, I didn't need you there anymore. And that's not to shit on your game, but I really had to look at things and evaluate them every round and say, who is it that is absolutely beneficial to my game to still be here, and who is it that I feel like our game relationship has run out. I don't think that I got here totally on my own. I think that there is definitely a lot of luck involved, but I hauled ass to win competitions. I hauled ass to try, and I hauled ass to be a good ally to the core group of people that I was with, even if they didn't believe that I was with them. I really showed in measures to that core group that I was with them and that I was never going to turn on them. And it paid back, especially in the rounds where I was vulnerable. And there weren't many of them. But I think to say, like people weren't going to take me out or people were going to target me, I was never available really to be targeted or evicted in this game, let alone in the jury phase of this game. Danny and I were the last 2 people to ever be nominated in this game. So as much as one can say that I had a shit social game, I was still able to find myself on the block last. And I think that does speak to something impressive about how people felt. Maybe they were just afraid. Maybe they didn't want the mess, and that's fine. But it was one of those things that I can be proud of. I have things in this game that I can be proud of. And I hope that there are things in this game that you've seen me do that you can be proud of me too. Blake would also be a phenomenal winner of this game. I wouldn't have brought him to this if I didn't think that. I'm aware that many of you feel burned about my game, and some of you we may be able to repair that after this game, and some of you we may not. But I truly took this as a game. I think that in games, you know, sometimes you have to fuck over people you really like, and you have to fuck over people that are special to you. And as much as you think it's unnecessary, it's not personal. It's not a point where it was like, I intentionally wanted to hurt you, or I intentionally wanted to be malicious. But I had to weigh all of the options and say what is best for me in the game that I'm playing moving forward. Yeah, I was emotional. I wore my heart on my sleeve. I've cried for the first time in an org ever, many times in this game. And I think you're probably done hearing me cry. I'm done hearing myself cry. But I think it just showed how much this game has meant to me, but also how much I hated having to take this away from anyone else that I was playing with. This community, I know Blake spoke to this as well. This is a community that has really kind of been a core social resource for me. I came in BBH 11. I didn't know what a long-term org was. I mean, I knew, but I was like, I'd never do one like that. And I met, you know, some really amazing people. I met Blake, who has become one of my greatest friends. And the way that, you know, he looked out for me in that and kind of continuing through is something I always take with me. But this community is something where I've met a lot of people that I love. And as I introduced new people to this game, this community welcomed them with open arms and showed them that they love them too. And it was one of those things for me that it was like, I feel very validated here as a person, as a player. I got praises here, even though I wasn't always deserving of praise, and I got scathing reviews, even when I definitely deserved them. But I think this community, and for all of you who came in, and I know some of you on the jury, some of you watching, you played this game because I at least helped talk you into it. And I thank you for taking that risk and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, especially if this was your first game, because this community paid so much back to me, and especially did so in paying so much back to all of you. So thank you for that. Thank you to Blake for being such a wildly amazing ally in this game to me, even when we disagreed. But I really appreciate everyone that I got to play this game with. And thank you for being a part of this journey, as ugly as it might have been.
All right. That is it. So, jurors, if you have not, which most of you have not, send a video vote to your diary room with who you are voting to win the game. The person whose name you say is the one that you want to win the game. In the meantime, I'm going to let everyone take a breather. So I know that we need to take bathroom breaks potentially. I'm going to hit some music and we will be back with the reading of the votes. So hang tight, everybody. Don't leave us now. We want to see who wins this thing. Let's pick some good hype music for this one. What haven't we done in a while? Ooh, let's do, where's the chill one? Oh, I don't know where the chill one is. We'll do this one. All right, all the votes are in. I'm just double checking everything. Okay, that is one moment. All right, we don't have to go through that whole thing. I am ready to go. All right, let's bring on our finalists. Blake Ratcliffe, and Dr. David Lee Farrell. All right, the votes are in. Everything is done. And you can breathe a deep sigh of relief. This season is almost over once I reveal these votes. It has been a very fun season, a very long season. There are high highs, low lows, and 30 plus days of morning tea with CLC have its moments. And I can't wait for you guys to uncover whatever you choose to uncover for those things. Thank you, everyone that has watched along this whole season, watched along tonight. A very active viewership once again this season, as evidenced by, and I say that numbers don't matter, but they do mean a lot. We have upwards of 50 people watching tonight's finale, which is really exciting. So thank you very much, viewers, for that. And it's time. You want to see your name. You know how it goes. There are 11 voters. 6 wins it. Here we go. Vote number 1, Lee Farrell. Vote number 2, Blake Ratcliffe. Vote number 3, Lee Farrell. Hold on. Someone is. Please go away. Okay. 2-1 Lee. Vote number 4, Blake. It's 2-2. Next vote goes to Blake. That's 3-2. Next vote goes to Lee Farrell. That's 3-3. Next vote, Blake Ratcliffe. That's 4-3. Next vote goes to Lee Farrell. It is 4-4. The next vote goes to Blake Ratcliffe. That's 5 votes Blake, 4 votes Lee. The next vote, and the winner of Big Brother Hometown's 15 Second Chances. Congratulations, Blake. You have won Big Brother Hometown Season 15 Second Chances. The final tally was 7 votes Blake, 4 votes Lee. Let's bring all our friends on here. Your number 1 fan, of course, is Erica and Crystal and Susie, and is that everybody? Is Carl here? Carl is here. Everyone's here. Blake, the floor is yours. How are you feeling in this moment?
So, number 1, I'm gonna shit my pants. Number 2, I just want to say, like, I know that everybody has the thank you Josh Consalvo shit to say, but like Lee hit the nail on the head with like almost every single person on this call I have strengthened or grown a relationship with through this community. Everyone in this game that I've gotten to meet, Ryan Taylor, you're about 112 pounds soaking wet, my man. Let's throw these hands, baby. BBH just means a lot to me. I am not going to sit here and suck myself off, but I've won orgs in the past. This is one that means so much to me. And I never thought at top 21 or even in BBH 11 that I would ever win a fucking BBH season. I'm rarely speechless, but quite frankly, I am now. Thank you to everyone involved, the viewers, the players, the hosts, random people that tuned in for 2 seconds and voted for fan fave. Just kidding. That was a slight at last season. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a good feeling. I'm happy to be here with Lee. I feel like I knew coming out of this that I would have been happy with the outcome regardless. So thank you, everyone. Even the people that didn't vote for me, thank you for making me fight for your vote. It was a blast.
Blake, you are such a deserving winner. You really did play the absolute mess out of this game. And it was an incredible journey to watch. I think that we'll have tons to talk about from the round to round or whatever. But there's
Josh, say fuck for me just once.
You played the fuck out of this game, Blake Radcliffe.
Let's go.
Awesome. There's so many just master strokes of strategy that you had. Lee, you were a mess, and we all know that, but you getting here is unbelievably incredible and unbelievably impressive. And all the comp wins, good Lord, like that, no one's going to be able to top that. You're the all-time comp winner. You know that. You were shooting for that record before the season started, and you got it.
Happy to pass on the crown on behalf of me and Daniel Sanchez.
But of course, the crown of BBH winner goes to Blake Radcliffe, and I am very, very proud and very excited about that win. Anyone else I'm proud of? Anything left they'd like to say?
I'll say it during the awards.
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the squad, winner Blake.
Yeah. Oh my God. not that.
Congratulations. Okay, congratulations
Winner
to both
Blake.
of you, because
Yeah.
this was like the most difficult season, and the fact that you even made it to the finale, absolutely insane. You both have to be so proud of yourselves.
I just want to say, Lee, for someone who said you've never done an org final tribal, I know you've done mini finales and other things, but like you fucking crushed it to the point where when I just peed in that 5-minute break, I was terrified. Like you articulated your game so well. You took things and ran with it. I wrote out a full speech because I'm terrified to wing it because I'm just not capable. Like you're a fucking killer, dude. Like everyone in this game was
And it's you deserve this win over and over again, Blake.
Well, that wraps us up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mitchell. Were you
I
going
was
to say
just
something?
gonna say so. No, I was just gonna say so happy for both of you, Blake. After watching you be incredibly down on yourself the whole season and watching you play such a marvelous game, I hope that you can take a second to be proud of yourself because you really fucking crushed it.
Thank you.
And yeah, you have a lot to be proud of for this game.
Absolutely. And unless I'm cutting anyone else off before I sign us off, I think we're good. That wraps us up for BBH 15. Second Chances, one of our craziest seasons. What a journey it's been on. I have so many people here to thank. And if you see them on the screen, I am thanking them. So Mitchell, Carl, Max, K-Pow, Erica, Susie, Crystal, and is all of Prod here? Am I missing anyone? I think that's everybody.
We're all here.
Thank you guys so much for everything you did, from morning tea, from the memes, from the updates, from the comp hosting, from everything that you did to make the season run without a hitch. We were on schedule from day 0 to day 36. Shout out them boys for the live.
No, fuck that. Absolutely the fuck not.
Not that.
Once
them
again,
boys.
an incredible viewership. We will be back. BBH 16 will come in 2022, maybe a little sooner than later, but we have plenty of time to figure that out. I can't wait to take a deep breath, relax. Plenty of games of the chase, the weakest link, all those things. Everyone enjoy your holiday season in the next couple weeks. Probably going to take a little break, maybe some exit interviews coming your way, but otherwise, maybe a little quiet in the BBH world for a couple weeks. But thank you. Congratulations, Blake, and good night, everybody.